I love Zambia and I love Zambians. I will run a government that is people-centered. We're talking about the Zambian people. So I'm focused on the Zambians to start with. As an alliance, as a party, we are moving the poor Zambians from the margins. They are no longer a by the way. They're actually at the center of policy and economic transformation, with the youths driving that particular agenda. This is the reason why Zambians should vote for Brian Mundubile, because he loves Zambians and he has demonstrated through the Tonse manifesto that he will put Zambians at the center. And Zambians will be interested to know that I am the president for the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance. This is an alliance that gives hope to the Zambian people. And Ambassador Mkwita, hope in this particular case, H stands for hard work, O stands for open government, and P for a people-centered government, and E for economic transformation. So the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance is giving hope to the Zambian people. Now, under the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance is a special purpose vehicle called the National Reconciliation Party for Unity and Prosperity. That's complete in itself. And the Zambian people know that this name is deliberate, because we are in a country that is divided. We are in a country where the citizens are stressed, and therefore we need reconciliation. We need unity, and above all, we need prosperity. So that is about the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance, and indeed the NRPUP.
That's correct.
As a special purpose vehicle.
That's correct.
Yes, our symbol is a lamp to signify light at the end of the tunnel. When you're in the dark, Anthony, and you see some light at the end.
At the end, yes.
You actually have hope. And that's exactly what the horizon, the NRPUP, under the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance, under President Brian Mundubile and Makebi Zulu as Vice President, are providing that hope to the Zambian people. Brian Mundubile, driving government policy. So they are key stakeholders in whatever we do. So any well-meaning government would like to ensure that they have a motivated civil service. When you look at the civil service today, or civil servants today, we have what you now call the working poor. Okay, and we start from there. Our civil servants, hope is near. Hope is in the horizon. We look at the civil servants and realize they are going through a number of challenges. We have said under the Tonse PF Pamodzi Alliance that we are not only looking at changing government, but would like to change how government works. That's our commitment. So policy reform alone is not enough. We need state reform in this particular regard. And the clear message that we have for the civil servants is that, one, you will be working under a professional environment, because we will professionalize the civil service. We will also depoliticize the civil service. That's how we're going to change how government works. And for your comfort, our dear civil servants, the recruitments will be based on merit. We'll embark on the merit-based recruitment, as it were. So civil servants should be very comfortable with the initial steps that we're taking towards improving the civil service. Secondly, when we zero in and look at a civil servant today is one that is drowning under debt. They're highly indebted. They are indebted, one, because government owes them money. And as a result of that, to make ends meet, they've had to go out and borrow. So clearly, we are looking at a working poor civil servant who is under debt. So as a responsible government that would like to have a motivated civil service, we will implement debt swap so that government liquidates whatever obligations they have for the civil servant, and at the same time take up the obligations these civil servants may have had contracted outside their work environment, as it were. So the debt swap will be implemented. Number two, there are a number of civil servants, especially the teachers. I was looking at the statistics. There are 50,000 teachers who've been waiting for an upgrade. Tony, these are people that could have entered the teaching service as certificate holders. Some of them are degree holders today. Some of them have master's degrees, and some of them
PhDs, yes.
They're still being paid at the entry scale. So that backlog of 50,000 teachers will have to be addressed. The same may be the case with many other officers within the civil service.
Yes.
These are soft solutions. They won't take much. Yeah, because civil servants deserve to be upgraded. They've worked very hard to improve themselves. They're providing a service at a different level, at a different scale. They should be compensated as such. So we'll implement that.
Amazing.
The other challenges you look at today with the civil servants, look at accommodation for the civil servants, especially those that are working in rural areas. Yeah, so this is one of the major issues that we'd like to address for the civil servants. The issues of housing, including housing allowance. An average house befitting a civil servant would cost between 4,000 and 5,000 kwacha. Most civil servants are getting 1,000 kwacha, and the senior civil servants are getting 2,000. So they are having to subsidize to just, be able to have some decent housing, as it were. And secondly, those that are retiring, the civil servants that are retiring, have realized that there is need for reform of their pension schemes, pension plans. The information we're getting from the civil servants is that they would prefer a lump sum payment and then decide what to do with these lump sum payments. So there will be some policy reforms in that area so that NAPSA is able to pay lump sum payments to the civil servants on retirement. And lastly, maybe not the least, would be the flexibility to change between pension schemes. The civil servants would like to be given that flexibility and not be locked down to one pension scheme. They should be able to exercise their freedom.
Yes.
Yeah. So to our civil servants, we have a very clear message for you, as I've summarized it. But remember that the first thing to do will be not only to change government, but to change how government works. You've done so much in terms of education. Most of you possess very decent academic qualifications, but the environment you're working in is not professional. So we are guaranteeing a professional civil service. We are guaranteeing a merit-based recruitment approach. We are guaranteeing a depoliticized civil service. And I believe that many civil servants will be very happy with the NRPUP government. People who would want to put their children through good schools so they acquire decent education, to be able to pay rent 2 times or 3 times more than what they get as housing allowance, and send their children to school, they have had to go out and borrow, and sometimes at exorbitant rates. They've had to acquire expensive loans just to get along. And so it becomes very difficult, Ambassador, to get the best from these civil servants. They come into work stressed. They spend most of the time looking for money. And even when government comes up with good policies, if the officers who are supposed to implement these good policies, about $6.6 billion out of this country. But around that time, you'd still find a woman in Chiwempala market who was surviving on 100 kwacha per week from her market sales. Yeah, and yet, right beneath her is among the world's largest copper deposits. Yeah, so these are things that we needed to look at critically. When you look around the challenges with copper mining, mainly governments have not been able to create enough employment in the mining sector. Why? Because mainly we've been exporting raw copper. As Tonse, as NRPUP, we are going to create mines and mineral value chains, meaning that as opposed to promoting export of raw materials, we will promote value addition. Only then can we provide employment. We export raw copper and import finished products. So we are actually providing employment in other countries that are processing the same raw material that we got. So working together with the investors who promote that smelters and other equipment and machinery involved in value addition should be set up on the copper belt to provide employment for our people. So primary employment is created in mainstream mining, but that's not enough. Yeah, that's the reason why we have so many unemployed youths on the copper belt, because we're exporting copper ore, we're exporting copper cathodes and so on. So as Tonse, PF Pamodzi Alliance and NRPUP, we want to promote value chains in the mining sector, as it were. We've also looked at some of the challenges within the sector to do with small-scale mining. The small-scale miners have had a number of challenges. Some of the challenges they have, they go through processes and acquire licenses, small-scale mining licenses. And later, big mining houses appear in the same area. And they obtain injunctions against these small-scale miners. And their court battles that are endless. We will introduce fast-track tribunals to deal with such disputes, because many a time it's the small-scale miners that are losing out. So when we are talking about small-scale miners, we are not necessarily talking about illegal miners or the ones that are scavenging from the dumps. There are small-scale miners who go through the processes, get licenses, and they are later displaced by the big mining houses. So the solution to that, like I said, will be to set up fast-track tribunals that will be able to resolve these matters quickly, so that those that have licenses, those that are supposed to be in those particular areas, can go on with the mining. When we go down to the ones that the Jerabos have invited to mine, because there will be a formal sector. They will be licensed to mine, government to look at their safety, government to look at their off-takers, government to also educate them in a number of aspects involved in mining. So those are some of the soft solutions that we have. But we'll go further. We'll also ensure that those are supporting mining activities, like contractors and suppliers, have got some guaranteed business. This is an agenda we've been pursuing for the past 2 years, and when we come in government, we'll ensure that we back it up with legislation that will compel mining houses to guarantee some business to local companies, so that they are not sidelined, they are not sidestepped. There is supposed to be beneficiation through that area. Now, the interesting part, once that is done, Tony, because we're talking about big business, there's going to be a lot of initiative and innovation within the copper belt. Many of my friends who are mine suppliers and contractors are very industrious. I've known them for over 20 years. They've been running businesses. They'll be able to set up manufacturing plants, maybe to manufacture nuts and bolts. okay, and many other engineering parts that are required in the mining. That again will provide employment, to the youth. Remember, as Tonse, we are looking at one of our major targets in trying to fight poverty and vulnerability will be to create employment through industrialization. So these are some of the initiatives that we will take up. On environmental protection, on safe mining, financial management, among others. So that's a commitment that we make, and our manifesto is the social contract between us and the Zambian people. It's a social contract between ourselves and the small-scale miners. So we commit to set up in each district within the Copper Belt, there will be an office that will be purely in charge of these small-scale miners. And remember, within our manifesto, we promised to create a ministry of industrialization. Yeah, so it's all connected. Presents the poor Zambians. Okay, we are looking at the most vulnerable member of the community, and this is Nakulumutinta, Pamakasane, Misepela. So the circumstances surrounding Nakulumutinta will describe an average Zambian today. So that is why in our manifesto, we are saying we are looking at women and the youths to be in the majority within this population. Even when you look at the voter registration, you would find that the majority voters will be women and the youths. And we start from there. Of course, the manifesto came earlier than the registration results. So we've been focused on women and youths. We are moving them from the margins to the center of policy and economic transformation, making youths the drivers of this economic transformation. Yeah, so the many policies that will come up with will be centered around this poor Zambian. Yeah, so that is the meaning of Nakulumutinta. So Nakulumutinta should be a beneficiary from the policies in the mining sector. When we're giving out incentives, what are we getting in return? Is Nakulumutinta included
in that policy?
In that particular policy.
Okay.
So Nakulumutinta is no longer in the margins. It's actually at the center of policy and economic transformation. An emergency. We are treating it as an emergency that needs urgent attention. And it's for that reason that we'll place the Ministry of Youth under State House for a limited period, so that programs to do with the youths will be quickly implemented. Yes, so you are talking about, for instance, the youths in mining, just like we've been discussing. So there will be quick implementation of the programs that I've just spelled out, including the setting up of district offices to support small-scale miners. There will be quick implementation of the formalization of the small-scale mining. There will be quick implementation of the programs to do with local content, where the local supplier, who is a youth, is guaranteed business by the mining companies. We'll be looking at youths in farming, for instance, youths in tourism, youths in creative arts, youths in the digital economy. So that's the reason why, realizing that this is an emergency, realizing that this is urgent, it will be placed under the president for quick implementation, speedy implementation of these policies. I've just been saying, those are the reasons why I want to place it under State House. Because it's an emergency.
Indeed. Okay. Do you have any targeted numbers? What I mean by this is, will Lubinda Mukwita, who finishes university next year, be getting out of university with his gown and getting a job? Will Mundubile, the nephew of the president, then will he be getting a job also when he finishes university? Is there any hope that you can give to these kids that have been saying that there used to be a Zambian dream, but now it appears that all it is just a dream and not a reality? What's your comment on that?
Well, first of all, like I said earlier, we'll embark on a merit-based recruitment program within the civil service. So there will be no such a thing as some privileged databases. Jobs will be advertised openly. There will be transparency. Remember, in our HOPE agenda, O stands for open government. And P stands for a people-centered government. Yeah, so when we talk about opportunities will be for all, we intend to create not less than 300,000 jobs in the agriculture sector. Most of the farming blocks that will be central to our policy in agriculture would have been fully
How many farming blocks do we have, Mr. President?
We have about 12. And we know that within 3 years, they'll be fully fledged. And by being fully fledged, we mean that there will be value addition within the farming block. We'll not only be doing agriculture, but we are industrializing these farming blocks. So it's job creation through industrialization. Whether you're talking about agriculture, whether you're talking about the tourism value chains, whether you're talking about mining. In mining, there will be more, but I gave an example of small-scale miners. For instance, in one district alone, you're talking about 3,000 jobs. We expect more jobs to be created as these value chains are created. We'll give incentives to them, to the investors to create the value addition in within the copper belt, as it were, to produce wire, to produce components, be it batteries, as it were.
Bullets.
And this can be done. When you talk about creative arts, we are talking about within the first 2 years, create about 95,000 jobs. The same period in the digital economy, around between 95 and 100,000 jobs. Yeah, so we've done a study before coming up with the manifesto. We did a study to look at exactly what we're able to do for the Zambian people and exactly what we are committing ourselves to.
You're doing or targeting or allulating leaders for 3.5 million metric tons annually, President?
Now, 10 million tons is possible. When you look at the farming blocks, for instance, alone, they should be able to do that number. You have an average of 100,000 hectares per farming block, in some cases more. And we know that if we continue with the same hectarage under cultivation, but we add 10 farming blocks at 100,000 hectares, it'll give you 1 million hectares plus. Okay? And a part of that is used to grow maize. You definitely can get to 10 million tons along the way. It may not be in the first and second year, but really by third and fourth year, you must be heading towards 7 million tons, as it were. Yeah, so that is one. Secondly, even for the Zambia National Service, I think that our men and women in uniform actually can also contribute towards the food reserve, as it were. We know they've got capabilities. So sometimes deploying them to go and disperse people in Kikonge mine, in Kanyelele, may not be the best way of employing our men and women in uniform, including correction service. So if what we want is food security, but also value addition in that particular sector for export, these are some of the policies that we're going to implement. We'll go further, Ambassador. Majority of the trucks that you find on the road are carrying maize. It's the same maize carried from one warehouse to another. You will hear of maize that left Mbala, came to Lusaka, later moved to Chipata, and sometimes it disappears into Malawi without anybody accounting for it. What we are going to do around Pulungu area, because you've got a port, you've got a harbor, we are going to invest in milling capabilities there so that the maize produced in Mbala, Mpulungu, Kasama area only moves a short distance into the milling plants. We then can easily export milli meal through to East Africa. The border, Malawi, Zambia, Chipata, that maize does not need to come here. We need to send milli meal. So in the areas where there's high production, we will immediately promote the investment in milling capabilities. The same will happen on the copper belt, around Chirilabombwe, around Mufulira. The people, our brothers and sisters in Congo, need milli meal, and most of it is coming from South Africa. So as opposed to shooting down youths who are trying to earn a living by smuggling 1 bag or 2 bags of milling meal, we will instead invest in milling capabilities around those borders. So if our consumption is around 2 million and our production goes beyond 5 million, there will really be no need to spend so much money in maintaining officers around the borders just to look out for who may be smuggling, as it were. Instead, we'll turn it into a job creation venture. We industrialize around that area. We industrialize within the agriculture sector in strategic areas so that we're able to export a finished product.
Interesting, Mr. President. I don't know, while we're still on the same agriculture issue, how do you feel about...
We will cluster ministries so that there are synergies. If it's on infrastructure, you'll have roads, you'll have energy, and many others for purposes of development. Now, why this is important, coupled with the regional development authorities, we are going to have regional development authorities that will be looking at comparative advantages of provinces and then cluster them together so that you look at ways of optimizing investments in those particular areas. What am I talking about? Let's pick the Angolan border. Yeah, I'm talking about Western Province.
Indeed.
Yeah, Western Province and maybe partly Southern and partly Northwestern. If you cluster those together and understand the markets that exist across the borders, Western Province, for instance, naturally comes in because of livestock.
Yeah.
Yeah. The livestock in Mongu and Western Province in general comes naturally because culturally the people in that area have got skills of keeping livestock. But how best can we industrialize around this particular advantage? Government will ensure that we grow the animal population in that area by providing and building new veterinary, modern vet labs in that particular area, providing vet services in that area so that you have healthy animals, and also investing in modern abattoirs. So the business there will happen naturally because then we can easily export beef. And these are really low-hanging fruits. My brothers, my traditional cousins in Western Province, know how to keep animals. They've done that for a very long time.
Yeah.
Government is simply going in with the latest technology and improved breeds of animals to keep there for meat business, as it were. At the same time, on the side, government will provide empowerment programs for people to keep chickens, goats, and many other types of livestock within the area, because a market would have been identified and skills are also available in the area. The environment as regards plains where you have plenty water and plenty grass in the area. So this is how we are very structured in the way we're going to approach development. Yeah, so you find, we've been to Western Province and the people there bemoaned the levels of underdevelopment.
Underdevelopment.
We assured them that under the
Western Province is quite poor.
Yes, we'll have a very structured approach to development there. Like I said, the Regional Development Authority in that area will start by looking at the comparative advantages of that particular area. And off the cuff, you identify livestock to be one of them. You know that there are programs like the cashew nut program, which was, I think, frustrated along the way.
Yes, yes.
We wish to revamp that. Remember, you keep remembering, ours is to fight poverty through job creation, and job creation through industrialization. So even when we're talking about livestock, we quickly run to value addition. We quickly look at industrialization, the abattoirs, the vet labs, as it were, and of course export right across the border, these farmers. But as NRPUP, we are not only focused on maize farmers. We are looking at cotton farmers. We are looking at tobacco farmers, maize farmers, soya beans farmers, then ordinary beans farmers, and many other crops that are grown commercially. So our support starts by understanding. When you go to most of the parts of Eastern Province, you find cotton farmers. You also find tobacco farmers who have been neglected by government. So our support will not only be to the maize farmers, whom we have promised to increase the quantum of support. We've come to realize that the FISI program has faced challenges year on year because we are unable to win off farmers because of the quantum of support that is given. At 6 bags or 8 bags, and you intend to win off a farmer after 3 years, when you go to do an assessment, you realize they're exactly in the same position they were in before the program started. And then you later discover that if you increase the quantum of support, say to 20 bags, 3 years later, you can win off farmers and enroll a new set of farmers on the list, because those farmers would have migrated to the intermediate level in terms of agriculture. There has to be some upward mobility of these farmers towards becoming commercial farmers. But many a time they've remained subsistence farmers on life support from FISIP. So there is need for government to take practical steps. It's good for government, it's also good for the farmer. That's as regards the maize farmers, as it were. The tobacco farmers, many a time, are getting a raw deal because they are not getting any form of support from government. So government, my government, will position itself as an aggregator for most of these products within the agriculture sector to guarantee a fair price. Tony, it should not be a gamble for farmers to grow, whether it's tobacco, whether it's cotton, whether it's maize, groundnuts, and beans, only to discover that prices have slumped, and then they lose out and they're out of business. A government goes in, government to play a big brother role, because government is able to pick these crops at a reasonable price that will enable a farmer get a profit. Because government can hold. Government can hold until the prices improve. So most of the farmers have been in and out of business. I'm aware of the farmers in Eastern Province. There was a time, I think, government promised to get market for them from China. And they went out of their way and grew a lot of soybeans. The government did not come in, and many of them lost out. That is not expected under my government. We'll ensure that we cushion the farmer. We set prices. We open up. When the prices are too low, government moves in. The government can buy and hold and only offload when the prices are right. That's the only help we'd have given to the farmers. If the maize farmers are getting some assistance, what about the tobacco farmers? What about the soybeans farmers? Okay, what about the sugar beans farmers, and so on and so forth? So we will ensure that we give some support to these farmers so that they can grow year on year.
While we are there, I've seen now you have touched on the issue of the tobacco farmers, and that while you are very interested and everybody's...
millions of kwacha to this government in taxes, and of course create employment. That's one of the areas that we'll look at. To, of course, look at what is in the law, and also understand why there's been hesitation by other governments to implement. And if at all we can deal with those fears, we can deal with those apprehensions. That's one area we can also look at.
That's interesting.
The options remain very open. Remember, we would like to create employment through industrialization. So if we establish that through medicinal marijuana, we will be able to grow this particular crop and also a value add for export. It's one of the things that we'd quickly look at. And when you come up into Northern Province, you have a lot of potential with waterfalls. In Porokoso alone, I think has over 7 waterfalls. There could be close to 20 waterfalls within Northern Province. Get into Luapula. So all these are natural assets, natural tourism assets that have not yet been exploited for the benefit of the Zambian people. Our promise, Tony, don't forget, job creation through industrialization.
Indeed.
As a tool to fight poverty. So to add to what has happened to Livingstone and Southern Province, where the tourism is highly developed, we intend to develop the Northern Circuit, starting with Kasaba Bay. Basically, as government to provide the backbone infrastructure, starting with an airport infrastructure at Kasaba Bay, then the road from Kasaba Bay into Nsumbu into Mporokoso. We'll move into Mbala to look at many areas that were connected to the end of World War I. Remember, we did a commemoration of 100 years after the do in Mbala alone. You have graves of soldiers, fallen heroes from World War I. They're all there labeled. You have Lake Chila, where the guns that were used in World War I were dumped by the German soldiers when they were defeated. Yeah, so you've got the museum where you can learn more about the end of World War I. So that circuit starts from Chambeshi as you're leaving Muchinga into Northern Province, because the last shot fired in World War I was actually fired at Chambeshi. So there's still an old cannon there, where people can go and see where the last shot World War I was fired from. And the soldiers moved for 11 days into Mbala, where they officially surrendered and dumped their arms into. So you've got the whole circuit in terms of the Northern Circuit. When you get into Luapula, they've got quite a lot to see. You go to Bangwe Ulu, you go to Mweruwan Tipa, where you're going to see the Black Lechwe. You are going to see many waterfalls, many rivers, as it were. So there's a lot that we intend to do, first of all, as government, to promote tourism. Like I've said, we need to provide airstrips in most of these strategic areas and provide a friendly environment for the private sector to invest in hotels. Government would have invested in communication, they would have invested in power, basically backbone infrastructure. We know that a number of jobs will be created from these interventions in those particular areas. I love Zambia and I love Zambians. I will run a government that is people-centered. We're talking about the Zambian people. So I'm focused on the Zambians to start with. As an alliance, as a party, we are moving the poor Zambians from the margins. They are no longer a by the way. They're actually at the center of policy and economic transformation, with the youths driving that particular agenda. This is the reason why Zambians should vote for Brian Mundubile, because he loves Zambians and he has demonstrated through the Tonse manifesto that he will put Zambians at the center. And the Zambians we're talking about, we are starting with the poorest Zambian being placed at the center of policy and economic transformation. So when you ask that the president has access to helicopters and is moving around, that's just one side of the story. When you have finally landed in Luapula with a helicopter, you have to have a message. Okay? So every opportunity that I find, every opportunity that a Tonse leader finds, we are speaking to the civil servants like we are doing this evening. The civil servant today now knows that we think about their housing challenges. We think about their meager housing allowance. The civil servant today knows to say the moment NRPUP is voted into government, they will implement a debt swap. They now understand that we'll go back to the lump sum payment through NAPSA. The civil servant today should have hoped to know that we implement policies that to provide flexibility for them to shift between pension schemes. Yeah, so that's the message. The youths today know that as opposed to providing 27 million per year for creative arts, we are elevating creative arts into an economic sector. We are introducing a digital economy for the youths. The farmers today know that NRPUP is a government that will come in and look at farming as an economic sector that should provide employment to many through value chain creation. We're creating agro-processing zones in most of these areas. The farmers of tobacco know that government to intervene, they will be there as an aggregator so that they're not exploited. If the private sector is unable to pick tobacco at reasonable prices, government moves in as big brother and they'll hold. The same will apply for cotton, the same will apply for soybeans. The Industrial Development Corporation, being a government entity, will play a key role in providing strategic aggregators for various products that are coming from the Zambian people. So our key, Ambassador Mkwita, is that we'll have a Zambian at the center. We will protect the interests of a Zambian, as it were. So my message to the Zambian people is that the Tonse Alliance Manifesto is a social contract between ourselves and you as the Zambian people. When we say you be at the center, you hold us to that, because we are saying it's you at the center of the policy and the economic transformation. That's the reason why the Zambians should vote for Brian Mundubile as president.
That's what makes you different from President Hakainde Hichilema.
Exactly. We know that the current government has had very good policies but skewed towards foreign investors. That is the truth. Okay, the foreign investors, when you go out of the country, you find them praising this government in magazines, and they are all over about the beautiful policies. But is that the same with the Zambian people here? Do they think so? Are the people in Chiwempala saying that? Are the youths in Mufurila saying that? So when you have these stark differences where within the same sector, people are speaking a different language, if the policies were indeed working, they should work for the investor and also work for the Zambians that are out there. For the workers within the mining sector, are they singing the same good song as their bosses are? The answer is no. So we are saying to our miners that we will introduce sectoral minimum wages, so that regardless of which mine you're working for, as long as you're within the mining sector, you are guaranteed a certain minimum wage for that sector. So this will apply even to sectors outside mining. This is where we'll give hope to our younger drivers, taxi drivers, truck drivers, bus drivers, and many others, because we'll introduce sectoral minimum wages, such that as long as they're operating in this sector, a driver in this sector will get a certain minimum wage. So if you can't afford to pay a driver, a truck driver, a certain amount, just don't go into trucking. Government to protect the interests of bus drivers, the interests of taxi drivers, the interests of younger drivers. We've received a lot of complaints from all these people. So government's intervention will be through statutory instruments and legislation to protect the Zambians. Remember, Tony, ours is the Zambian not at the margins, but at the center of policy and economic transformation. In the foreign direct investments, we will promote investments. We'll promote investors. The only thing we insist on is, one, there should be a win-win situation between the investor and the Zambian, because the Zambian is at the center of this policy and economic transformation. So even as we negotiate incentives, there should be incentives to the mining houses, but to benefit Zambians. We must clearly see in plain sight that Zambians are going to benefit from these initiatives. Yes, so we have no intentions to disturb investments in the mining sector. Zambia still has a lot of potential for greenfields. We would want to also ensure that Zambia as a government runs some mines. Zambians also should own mines, as it were. There's a lot of potential, a lot of studies have been done.
But do we have money? I understand the investments run into big...
Most of them are old now, but those skills have been passed on. Some big mines outside Africa actually run by Zambians as CEOs, as it were. So in terms of capacity, we have capacity. Those colleagues, Zambians, I'm speaking to them, those that are in the diaspora, in the mining sector, begin to prepare yourselves to come and run your own mines. Okay. They know where to source finance. They know how to run these mines. Okay, so the skill is there, the skill to mine, the skill to source finance. nobody, even the investors that we have here, nobody really starts with billions of dollars, as it were. Okay, the capacity comes when they have got licenses. Yeah, so the starting point is a resource. Is there a resource? Yes, there is. The second is, all right, can we be deliberate and get groups of Zambians, whether they want to go in as limited companies or whatever form, they come together and as consortia and whatever it is, they are given rights. We'll be very deliberate to give rights, mining licenses to these Zambians. And because they'll be sitting on very comfortable deposits and they are backed by the skills that they have, they should be able to find partners to come into those mines. But also, we've got ZCCM-IH.
Yeah.
We've got IDC that should be looking for greenfields now.
Yes.
As opposed to reducing the shareholding that they already have in these mines, they should be looking at running some mines 100%. And ZCCM-IH has got a balance sheet that can defend that sort of investment. Yes. So remember, it's job creation through industrialization. Yeah. So we're going to have to be very deliberate on setting up some of these mining activities for job creation, but also as a control. You need to run some control mines. You can't have all the mines running in your country in private hands. If they are having genuine challenges and you're mining alongside, you as government could equally see from the challenges that you're facing. Yeah, but if all the mines are in private hands, it really is very difficult to see. We promote the private sector, but there are certain strategic interventions that government can do, can invest in mines through its investment arm in mining, which is SCMIH, and come up with some greenfield mines, as it were.
Oh.
Yes, Ambassador, you are talking about the local debt.
Indeed, the local debt.
So the starting point, we always go to the foundation.
Please.
Every government, including the UPND, had their own priorities. Who did they prioritize? They've been dismantling foreign debt. They've paid off most of the, whether the companies in Zambia, foreign companies that invested in Zambia, we saw how government dismantled VAT refunds very quickly. They're running in billions of dollars. Yeah, so it was a question of priority.
Indeed.
Money has always been there. It's a question of priority. Yeah, because if there was no money, how did government dismantle those VAT refunds owed to foreign companies? What was so difficult to move at the same speed to dismantle local debt? And the local debt, Anthony, before we even go and talk about in the road sector, in the infrastructure sector, there is an old woman out there, Nakulu Mutinta, Pamakasa named Sepela, who supplied beans to the army, who supplied carpenter to prisons, okay, who supplied rice to the police. They are still being owed money. And they were not paid. Why? Because the priority was not the Zambian. The priority was a foreign entity. The difference with Tonse Pamodzi alliance is that Zambians are no longer at the margins. That's where that message goes.
Yeah.
They're no longer at the margins, but they're at the center of policy and economic transformation. So the difference is, when you ask me, Zambians will be prioritized in this particular case. Whether we're talking about dismantling of debt, we prioritize the Zambians. If you ask me where the money will come from, the money has been there. In case you didn't know, Ambassador Mukwita, the total budgets under the UPND after 4 years, it were about 900 billion. Including the 2026 one is actually over 1 trillion. You don't tell me that out of 1 trillion, you could not pay your own local suppliers. Okay, and is 200 is 200 is it 200 billion? The initial debt before they contracted. It was a question of priority. So there's been enough money with over 1 trillion kwacha in budgets, unprecedented. Okay, maybe you are suspicious that most of the money went towards CDF. CDF was only 20 billion. So there's still 900 billion plus that could have accommodated the local suppliers. But like I said, it's a question of priority. We should be able to dismantle this particular debt.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Like I said, similar actions have been undertaken. Under the
money was
government
found
in billions, in billions of dollars.
Indeed.
Yeah. So the advantage with that is that, one, you are not only giving relief to the locals, you're not only saving their property, because most of them have lost property through foreclosures, as it were, because they're unable to pay, and they are not able to pay because government is unable to pay. So we're making Zambians, even those that had managed to get out of the poverty bracket, we're pulling them down back there. So we're not doing it for fun or for political reasons. Okay, we're saving Zambians' lives, by paying them. They will go and industrialize. They'll grow their businesses. They'll employ people. We are creating employment through industrialization. So any intervention that will result in industrialization, we're in a hurry to implement. So local suppliers needed to be treated fairly. They needed to be prioritized because they're Zambians. And mostly that money in Zambia is not cheap. Capital is very expensive in Zambia. They borrow expensively, and if you delay to pay them, they end up in big problems. Most of the people I know are in that bracket. They're in big problems. They've lost property. They've lost equipment, all because government decided not to pay them. And they did not pay them for whatever reason. But we are saying a hope is near. We'll be able to address these problems and get started all over again. Because ours under Tonse is to empower Zambians, to see to it that Zambians flourish. We will be deliberate in creating rich Zambians. In every sector, we'll run programs where we'll say 20 Zambians per sector should be turned into rich people. And we run programs, empowerment programs, giving them business, paying them on time, and running them right through until they emerge. Cares for you as a Zambian. He cares for you as Nakulumutinta Nemisepela Pamakasa. Brian Mundubile's government, it will be a government where every Zambian will count. So vote for Brian Mundubile. All the Zambians for their prayers. And I wish to undertake that we are only remaining with under 3 months before we go to the polls. August 13th, prepare your voter's card. Go and vote wisely. Vote for Brian Mundubile, the running mate Makebi Zulu, and the NRPUP Pelampi for hope. Remember, hard work, open government, a people-centered government, and economic transformation. I thank you.